This is a newspaper. It shares all the stories that's going on all around the world, exclusive stories, updates on the recurring issues, and whatever's woke these days. I think today it's fireworks. It keeps being banged out how newspapers are dying, and one day they won't be here anymore. And that's not just from the readers, it's actually from the media publishers themselves. Instead, we'll be reading our news on tablets, mobile phones, and even on our fridges. In fact, it's already the most preferred way of reading news these days. A lot of media companies already embrace the internet, and it's turned the newspaper to be more like a pamphlet than a bulky newspaper. Yet here's the interesting thing about newspapers. They are still responsible for a large chunk of media companies' annual profits. And as less and less newspapers are purchased, you may be noticing that the cover price of newspapers are going up and up every year. So who is actually still buying newspapers these days, other than me, who's had to buy multiple newspapers as props for this video? Well, let's find out. First, let's talk about how many newspapers are sold in the UK. Now, newspaper publishers report how many newspapers they circulate to the Audit Bureau of Circulations, or ABC for short. This body records how many newspapers are sold monthly and annually. It's a way for the media industry to be transparent about their sales, but also give advertisers an idea of where they should be out buying their ad space from. Now, the ABC used to publish circulation figures every month, but in 2020 they made the decision that they won't be doing this anymore and that news publishers can instead opt out of releasing their circulation figures. This came after concerns that declining sales helped build a negative narrative around the future of newspapers, and no one's actually buying newspapers anymore. Now here's a fun quiz question for you. What is the most circulated newspaper in the UK?
Several hours later.
Easy answer, it's the Metro. It's because it's free, it's scattered across train stations and bus stops, and there's a good chance you'll see them on the commute to work, or blowing in a wind, or in the bin. In fact, if there's going to be a zombie apocalypse, you'll probably see copies of the Metro flying through the wind, or covering London streets. So the Sun, the Times and the Telegraph titles all chosen to keep the ABC circulations private since the start of 2020. Now, everyone's most hated newspaper, The Sun, was once the most read daily newspaper, with 1.2 million newspapers sold every day in the last available newspaper data 2020. Now, the Press Gazette crunched the numbers, and they found that if their titles fell in line with the rest of the industry, their circulations as of October 2025 would be around 550,000.
Elsewhere, the Daily Mail has a daily circulation of 625,000, the Daily Mirror has a daily circulation of 176,000, the iPaper has a daily circulation of 116,000, and the Daily Express has a daily circulation of 109,000.
But to understand who buys newspapers, we have to turn to polling giants Yougov. Now, Yougov has published many polls over the years, which help us understand the demographics of people who actually buy newspapers. Now, the UK largely gets its news from national TV channels and news sites, but only 10% get their news from the national newspaper and 4% from their local newspaper. Now, there's no clear-cut data that shows the average person that buys a newspaper. However, Yougov did create a fun graphic and profiled the average readers of all the national newspapers, which were all men, bar the Daily Mail, which was a woman. I did find it quite funny. I did like how the Daily Mirror's average customer was someone who had a pet bird, or how the Daily Express's average customer likes meat pie and ham salad. Grim. But who subscribes to newspapers? Yougov's study found that people who subscribe to newspapers are often older, with 50% of subscribers often aged over 55 or over. People between the ages of 40 and 54 make up 18% of subscribers, and another 21 are aged between the ages of 25 and 39. Now, only 12% of newspaper subscribers are under the age of 25.
Men are also more likely to be newspaper subscribers compared to women. This means that elderly men are the most likely candidate to be a newspaper subscriber. So your granddad's probably the reason why your local newspaper's still running.
But the big question is, why are people buying fewer newspapers these days? Now, a big reason for this is the internet. Users can access news from all around the world or around the local community by just Googling it or going directly on the news website. You can actually see in the chart by the Press Gazette how far the decline of newspapers from 2000 has affected UK daily newspaper average circulation per issue. There's a steady decline before a big drop around the first COVID lockdown, before picking up again.
Meanwhile, over the last 20-25 years, their news sites have grown their audience and increased page views every year. Online news is free, accessible, and saves readers from having to buy a newspaper. Of course, many are introducing or have already installed paywalls and digital subscriptions to their readers, but many aren't willing to pay for news. Many readers aren't suddenly going to start paying for news online with subscriptions when they've already had it free for so long. That's a topic for another day.
Another key reason is the cover price going up. There's been a gradual increase of newspaper prices over the years due to growing inflation and growing production costs. In fact, national newspaper cover prices have increased by 135% over the last few years. Just in the last year, cover prices have actually gone up by 12.1% on average. I mean, increasing newspaper prices while you're trying to keep people informed and, not pricing people out of news during a cost of living crisis is mad.
One more thing. Price of the brick going up. 30 more. Enough of this shit.
And a big reason why people don't buy newspapers anymore is, well, mistrust. One big survey in 2024 saw the UK fall to the bottom of the ranking, with 31% of people saying they trusted the media. And there have been many scandals happening within the media industry, whether it be the phone hacking scandal at News Group International, you've got the recent scandals within the BBC or affecting high-profile journalists, and the feeling that there are bias in newspapers. And a lot of newspapers are owned by the same media groups and have their own stance on various issues. It's why the Daily Telegraph won't stop talking about private school fees going up, or why the Daily Mail won't stop going on about Nigel Farage. There's also a growing trend of news avoidance where people are actively avoiding reading news or watching news channels.
A survey found that 47% of people regularly watch news programmes, with just 29% tuning in for radio news and 26% for news websites.
Bad news, bad news, bad news. Jesus, Jeremy, one bus crash. What about all the buses that made it safely to their destinations, huh?
Yeah, this is such bullshit.
Yes, I suppose the news should just be a dispassionate list of all the events that have occurred the world over during the day. That'd be good. Except, of course, it would take forever.
From the awful wars in Gaza and Ukraine, Trump being Trump, negative news about inflation, cost of living, the government, the climate, it's no wonder that people would rather watch the traitors than catch up with the news. Besides, watching the news sometimes can be like watching episode 30 of the world's most complex soap opera, and it can be really confusing for people to actually understand. And that's just America. But enough of me being negative. Of course, there's a reason why people will still buy newspapers. Now, a lot of people would buy newspapers on big historical dates, like the death of the Queen or the coronation of King Charles, which I did. I bought a copy of the Daily Mirror, and I even got a 16-page souvenir pull-out. Brilliant. And a lot of newspapers publishers actually report their newspaper sales actually going up and then slowly going down on days around a big historical event. Also, I think people like to buy newspapers in these days because they think that one day they might be worth something. But I don't think they will be, but who knows. And newspapers as well also like to run promotions on special dates, like The Sun, who, if you have to go through all their tabloid nonsense and all the bullshit it writes and publishes every day, you would get some vouchers for a nightly Sun holiday out of Pontins or a nice holiday park somewhere, I don't know. Or here, the Daily Mirror, where you get £10 off when you spend £50 at Sports Direct. I'm going to be using that because I need some new trainers. So it's good I actually bought a copy of the newspaper.
I'll make that deal. How about you bitch? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
I remember the days when you'd actually get like a free album or a DVD or a game or a demo with a newspaper. I remember actually getting a copy of Toy Story 2 demo from the newspaper that my dad bought once, and I played the absolute shit out of that game. So there you have it. We're buying fewer newspapers every year because we prefer reading news on free on our mobile phones and tablets. Who needs newspapers anyway? I mean, what have they ever done to the world? What good have they actually produced in this country? But what happens if we stop buying newspapers? And what happens when the newspapers then start closing down? Who will keep us informed? Who will keep us informed about news stories? Who will battle against the conspiracy theories and bullshit that gets shared on social media and by media tycoons? Well, but who knows? That's a problem for the media industry to care about, and good luck to them, because they're going to need all the luck they can get to find out a way to keep the media industry in this country going and protected for many generations to come. So what do you think? Do you still buy newspapers? Do you buy news online? Do you have any subscriptions? Do you outright not read the news anymore and just go on a whim and just listen to whatever that guy spouting nonsense on the street saying? Let me know. If you do want to share your thoughts, share the thoughts on the comments below. Really would appreciate it. Also, if you like this video, please drop me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I really would appreciate it, and help support me make this more of an independent thing, and I can produce bigger and better videos and all this and that. Now on the screen right now you might see two videos you might be interested in. Here's one about how I investigated a dodgy hotel that's been closed for 2 years and has an owner that's overseas and has no sign of actually reopening again. And here's something else you might be interested in based on your likes and dislikes. Anyway, I'm off to go to work and do something better in my life anyway, so take care and see you again here soon. Get all this off as well.